Romans 1 is straight up all about the Christian church. And the Christians love to use Romans 1 to point the finger at gay atheists when it's actually about the church, because the wrath of God comes first to the house of God. The judgment of God starts at the house of God. And it comes to all of the great whores, many harlots. That's the Protestant Reformation. So when you've got different denominations pointing the finger at another denomination, you know there's something wrong, because they're saying, oh, we're united on the same gospel though. No, you're not. They actually are. But they're united on the same gospel that holds the truth in unrighteousness. And that's what Romans 1 is about. Romans 1 is about his people, the people that claim to be his people, that he's revealed the creation to. So these people know that God created the heavens and the earth. He's even revealed the Godhead to them. So they know that the God of the Bible is the true and living God, and that you can be full of the Holy Spirit, the power of God. And yet they hold the truth in unrighteousness. What does that mean? They literally say that the gospel is that you can break the commandments now. They hold the truth in the breaking of the commandments. The righteousness of God is that you keep the 10 commandments and teach your neighbor to do so. That's what it means to love God and neighbor. That is the gospel. The entire church, all of the denominations, whether liberal or conservative, because they think it's about left and right, liberal and conservative. Everyone's against everyone. Then it goes on to talk about sodomy increasing. And we even see it in the church. And you've got the conservatives, the conservative denominations, and people who have their own standard of self-righteousness, pointing the finger at the liberal denominations, saying that they're not upholding God's righteousness, but they're the ones that actually got rid of the 10 commandments in the first place. They still hold the truth and say in unrighteousness, and say that the gospel is the gospel of unrighteousness, because the Messiah came to die so that we don't have to keep the righteousness of God. It's hypocrisy. Demons are cast out when you keep the 10 commandments. If you tell people they don't have to keep the 10 commandments, demons are going to increase. And the people that you convert to your man-made religion are going to become twice a proselyte of hell than you. Then it also goes on to say that when God showed them these things, when he showed them that he created heavens and the earth, and even the Godhead, that they wouldn't retain God in their knowledge. What's that talking about? The Messiah said, go and learn what this means. I will have mercy and not sacrifice, and the knowledge of God more than burnt offerings. He's quoting Hosea 6:6. You read Hosea 6:6, and then the next verse, in verse 7, whoa, watch it. It says, I'll say it again, I will have mercy and not sacrifice, and the knowledge of God more than burnt offerings. But they, like men, transgressed the holy covenant. That's what the Messiah is saying. Mercy over sacrifice means you keep the holy covenant instead of doing sacrificial law. Having mercy means you rebuke people instead of stoning them for sin. God's mercy was that he sent his son to die to end sacrificial law, because it was always written that the sacrificial law was added because they transgressed the holy covenant. That was the mercy. The mercy of God is an idiom for the 10 commandments, and also teaching others to do so, because rebuking sin with the sacrifice of your lips, the sacrifice of righteousness, loving your neighbor as yourself, and warning them of their sin so they don't suffer the consequences, is merciful rather than them dying for their sin, whether under sacrificial law or when the wrath of God comes in tribulation. It's merciful to rebuke people of their sin, but people hate that now, and they say that that's you casting stones. It's quite the opposite. Those who fulfill the royal law, there's no law against them. If you rebuke your neighbour and don't bear a grudge, if you tell them to keep the 10 commandments, or even rebuke them sharply if they need it, Titus 1, especially they of the circumcision in Judah, if you do that, there is no law against you. You won't be put under sacrificial law. So the people being talked about in Romans 1, who hold the truth in unrighteousness, they hold the truth that the gospel is unrighteousness. You don't have to keep the righteousness of God, which is the 10 commandments. So therefore you don't have to teach others to do so, which means you're breaking and teaching others to break the commandments, which means you're going to be least in the kingdom of heaven, which is quoting Isaiah 66, which means you're going to hell. Doesn't mean you're just going to be shining shoes in the kingdom. For you to not retain God in your knowledge, it's talking about you not keeping the covenant, the knowledge of God. John tells you, by this we know God when we keep his commandments. By this, you know that you love God when you keep his commandments. You know that you know God when you keep his commandments. It's the same idiom. They wouldn't retain God in their knowledge. They know he created heavens and the earth. That's why they argue, they toss with atheists all day, every day, and point the finger at gay people. Literally, it's to a T what the Christian church is doing. It's absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. They're pointing the finger at gay people. Not even just within the church. It's usually atheist, gay people, or people who are spiritual and agnostic, doing their marches and things like that. And then they know that the creation, they know like the young earth and things like that. So they argue with atheists, even though Timothy tells you never to. Well, is it 1 Timothy 6? Don't argue with atheists over false science. Don't bother. But the Christians are doing that. They're arguing over false science. They're pointing the finger at gay people, when Romans 1 is actually all about the church. They're holding the truth in unrighteousness, and they won't retain the knowledge of God because they'll never receive the knowledge of prophecy because they won't keep the Ten Commandments. They don't know God by keeping his Ten Commandments, so they won't receive the knowledge of God. Things like the key of David, which is why the Messiah even says, go and learn what this means, I will have mercy and not sacrifice. He says that to the Pharisees when they accuse him of breaking the Sabbath, when he's like, I've got the key of David. If you knew this, you wouldn't have condemned the guiltless. And that's a totally different topic. But the simple fact of the matter is that if you don't keep the Ten Commandments, you don't get the Spirit of truth. Acts 5:32-33. And they were cut to the heart when they were told this. The Christians get cut to the heart and seek counsel to slay you. They literally despise you in their heart when you tell them that to receive the Spirit of truth, you need to keep the Ten Commandments. Because they hold the truth in not keeping the Ten Commandments.